Didn't record anything?
No. I'm very sorry.
That's okay.
But we can start with different questions. But I think you have to talk again. How are you?
Sure, you can
yeah, Leif Walter, senior designer, gameplay designer on Bewegung.
Cool. I'm Pete. I'm a writer and designer dealing with most of the words you see in the game and sort of the dynamic dialogue systems as well.
So I have to say sorry because it's the second turn we're recording it, so it's a bit shorter the explanation what the people are doing. Yes, because I'm an idiot that didn't activate the cam. The record.
Two takes two, and that's what they call that.
So I start now with a different question like before, so it's new for you. Someone asked me about special weapons in the game, because you have in this area some special weapons. Yes, famous weapons. What was a bit experimental, but there was from the records of this time that they used this time.
So one of the big features, of course, is character customization. You have these legendary heroes in your faction, and you can equip them with different items, ancillaries, and of course weapons. Every character class has access to different kinds of weapons. So I don't know, Zhang-Fei, for example, with his big halberd, he can also wield spears and other sort of two-handed weapons. And yeah, obviously you have the famous weapons in the game, like Lu Bu's halberd,
Guan Yu's Green Dragon Spear.
Green Dragon Spear. And you can capture these items from other characters. So if you defeat Guan Yu in battle,
Somehow.
you might be, if you manage it, you're able to loot his weapon and then equip your other spear guy with his big halberd.
Yes, well, there was some history weapons like ballistics, like this, or how to say it in English, you have this 3-spear ballistic weapon from the time, or something like this in special ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, for the, let's say, normal unit weaponry and design, we primarily looked at the historical sources, and obviously there's different kinds of crossbows and archery. So there's a good variety in weapons and units available. You have these cool, I don't know how they're called actually, these big hammer-like things, like big balls, iron balls basically on a club.
Like maces, kind of.
Basically like a huge mace.
The mace in Egypt from the past. You know, the Egypt was very famous for working with maces in the beginning of fight, until the shielding and the armor of people getting stronger, and they changed this and go to
something else.
Yes.
Yeah. But one of the units as well, just like the repeating crossbow, isn't it? Which history is a bit unknown for certain, but they believe that Zhuge Liang was the one that invented the repeating crossbow, so that's the kind of way that we're sort of bringing that into the game.
They're really cool because they're not just about causing damage, but they will also basically slow down the target because of the rate of fire, basically. So they're quite a nice unit for suppressive fire. So you have this nice element of support.
Also, someone of my community asked which Total War title was the biggest inspirer for Three Kingdoms. It's a difficult question, I know, because you have a lot of new stuff in Three Kingdoms.
It's interesting because on different levels, I would say there's probably different answers.
Yeah.
So like the art-led direction we've taken for Three Kingdoms is probably like we looked back to when we made Shogun 2 and thought like that really worked really well. Let's take what worked really well from Shogun 2 in the art style and bring it to Three Kingdoms, but also let's iterate and make it better. And you can see how the campaign looked really beautiful and sort of in the ink and all that kind of stuff. So Shogun 2 is definitely one of our art inspirations, I think.
Game design wise, I mean, what we really wanted is to bring back the challenge and depth to the campaign gameplay specifically. So I'm not sure what title is good for inspiration, but yeah, certainly we look back at Med 2, for example, things like that, just to, because we know, especially our fans, they really crave for this kind of depth on the campaign, and we wanted to really deliver that.
I think also some kind of this different team. The Warhammer team is a different team, you can say, but I think there's some inspiring from the Warhammer world. like this hero stuff. It's not typical from the working.
Well, certainly taking sort of the two friends, like you say, there's different teams working on each different Total War project, but each one is working in its own way, looking at different ways to make it work. But the hero system from Warhammer was something they created for themselves, which was great. And then we've looked while creating our own heroes. It's like what works, what doesn't work. How can we bring what works to
I think I hear it's a bit more balanced. From the first scene, from the battles, it looks like that the heroes are not too strong. It's okay. The duel system, I have to check it in longer play times because you have this. If I have how to say, like a beast of warrior, and he will beat everyone in duel. It would be a very good choice to use the duels to conquer something or to destroy the morale of the enemies.
So for romance mode specifically, the interaction of the heroes is basically an additional strategic layer in battle. You still have your army movement, flanking, formations of units, but the heroes almost act on top of each other, where basically you have this separate matchup going on, and you obviously if you lose on the hero level, let's say, because of interactions of heroes, then this will have an effect on how the battle will go, of course. And duels play a big part of that, where winning a duel is a big punch to the morale. So
you can really turn the tide of a battle. If you feel like you're losing or if you're overwhelmed, but you manage to win a duel and you get this morale boost and you get a morale penalty, you could certainly see the tide turn against them in your favour.
Okay, now we have to go back to the first question. Yes, first one was this question about the hero units, but I also see already that hero units in the play time, that you have special units for every hero. And yes, normally the question I answered already with this way. But there will be something faction hero, not only on heroes, but on some faction special units.
So every faction has access to, let's say, special units. Like for example, Cao Cao has his famous leopard and tiger cavalry. There was this famous bodyguard unit that's available to his faction. But then the character development is a strong driver for unit unlocks as well. Every character can generally recruit all types of units, but obviously they will have specialties. Like a wood character will have special access to strong wood units. And so you have this sort of faction-wide progression through technologies, getting new units in, but also character-based.
Okay. Also a question, what's more interesting for me too, what was the late game? I know it already, now I didn't able to check it very far because I can say the preview version here is for 30 turns, and you have this way to Emperor. You have to bring China together. It's a very great time from China. I was in a relationship in the past with a Chinese girl, so I know a lot of China. And how you think the late game would be better in this Total War, like the past one? Because I have to say, the last really good late game was in Shogun 2.
It's funny that you say that.
Sorry, but
you certainly looked at the endgame mechanic in Shogun 2 very carefully, what worked about it, what didn't work, and we took some inspiration for it. And it's, in a way, in Three Kingdoms, it's quite similar in the sense that once you become emperor, once you're basically powerful enough to proclaim yourself, other factions will say, hey, wait a minute, I'm actually the true emperor, it should be me. And then you have these three kingdoms emerging. And these are then the three power blocks who dish it out, and the small factions, they will align themselves to either of these blocks. So you have this big war going on at the end. But at the same time, we wanted to prevent this endgame slog sometimes, where you have three big factions, so you have to eat through all of them, which is not very much fun. So it's basically about capturing the capitals of these factions. And once you basically dethrone an emperor by capturing his capital,
So this is also why you change the diplomacy system at all, because you need this relationship between the emperors. So you have at the end a lot of people who will support you in your way to become the emperor.
Once you become the emperor,
it's not like before you say Total War is Total War. Now you need some alliance partner. That's great.
It's very much about like you're definitely able to foster your diplomatic relationships, and that's where all the character relationships come in as well. As you, let's say you make you have a friend in your faction who's one of your generals, and then you make him a governor. Maybe at some point he will request independence, and then he becomes your vassal. And because you're personal friends, your relationship is very good. And then you can build up this really loyal follower who's his own faction technically, but he's really supporting you.
And when the time comes, and when you declare November, you can expect his support. You would hope for his support anyway. Hopefully.
And if there are other ways that it's possible to bring someone else to an emperor, like an alliance, so I help him to be emperor?
Yeah, you can support others as a vassal. Emperors, once you are emperor, you cannot accept someone at the same level, so you cannot be allied with another emperor, basically. So that's basically the heir gets then.
Yeah, the
late game says like, I don't want to be victorious in this game. I only want to be some little helper.
But you can support an emperor until a point where you think that.
Yeah, no, the whole kingmaker scenario is super interesting, and yeah, it's definitely better to be a vassal basically to push your master.
Okay, great. No, we are finished.
Okay, cool.
So my only question would be what you think is the biggest change now for you in the Three Kingdoms?
Wow, I mean,
I make it different. I would say I'm someone who are different. Like now you have a bit more clearly because you have the Orte and Warhammer and everything is a bit difficult to understand. Now you have this information window with F1 and so it was a special task from you to say, okay, we make everything a bit more clear now in this Total War, so people will be easier to come in.
I mean, we really wanted to create a game that's challenging and deep, and players, like new players and veterans alike, will be challenged, and there's a lot of depth on it. But at the same time, we have this gating mechanic where basically, as you start the game, you don't have so many systems to look out for, but as you progress, there's more things become relevant, and you have more options. Yeah. So the game becomes more and more challenging in that sense. But yeah, and at the same time, obviously, information clarity is important.
Because it ease you into what is, like by definition, by necessity, quite a complicated game.
So your train level is easier. Not easier in this way, but everybody gets you take the hand off him and take him to every count of this game.
Because even with some of the existing systems like diplomacy, they've changed quite radically. So even people who play Total War for years and years and years will probably need some help explaining how it's changed, how it might work better. So
yes, diplomacy is really big now.
Yeah.
But also we looked at the difficulty, let's say design in the game, and the previous approach of just having constant modifiers all over the place. We tried to change that up a little bit and make it more about how punishing certain systems are. So on easy, more mistakes are allowed basically because it doesn't have as negative of an impact.
Okay, thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
It was nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Good. Cool. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers.